Gerardo Bruna currently plays for Derry City in Ireland at the moment and previously represented Tranmere Rovers on the other side of the River Mersey. The Argentinian, once dubbed the next Lionel Messi, also played for Spain at youth level, having grown up in the Canary Islands, and he's now 29. He's also played for Blackpool and Accrington throughout his career. So why have we got Gerardo onto the Blood Red podcast? Well, there's two reasons. The first is that Gerardo was on Liverpool's books as a youngster, where he played for the reserves and trained sometimes with the first team under both Rafa Benitez and then Roy Hodgson. Having left Real Madrid to sign for Liverpool, the hopes were high that Bruna would become the next big thing. And while that didn't quite work out, he's had quite a decent career so far. And the second reason, Gerardo was a part of the Spanish under-17s team who won the under-17 Euros in 2008, alongside new Liverpool star Thiago Alcantara. I'm Matt Addison, and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
First of all, how are you doing, and sort of how well is your season going with Derry City at the moment?
It was good until I picked up an injury. But I mean, with the situation, we just started the season, and then the COVID-19 came in, and we had to stop the whole season, and just until recently, and yeah, I mean, it was going well. I mean, personally, it was good, but as I said, it's a strange season, and we haven't been doing really well lately, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course, it's a strange time for everyone, isn't it? And I'm sure you'll keep an eye on Liverpool, one of your four clubs. Obviously, that's sort of why we've got you on to talk about your time there and about Thiago Alcantara as well. But I mean, first of all, just thinking back to your time as a youth player at Liverpool, you came from Real Madrid. Was this sort of tag of the next Lionel Messi back in 2007? I mean, how hard was that for you to deal with that sort of tag? Because that's quite a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I never took it as I don't know how to say, like, obviously Lionel Messi is only going to be one, and there's only one, and he only will be one, but that you can just do nothing about it, what the press writes about you, that's out of your control. So I didn't take it, as I said, like to, it just didn't bother me or didn't influence me in anything, it's just, the press named me like that, and it is what it is. I just wanted to be to make a name for myself, and then, as I said, it didn't really put extra pressure on me or anything at all. It was just what it was, and that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of young players come from abroad into Liverpool in recent years. People like Sepp Vandenberg and players like that. How difficult is it to adjust to a new life? Because you're not just joining a different football club, but you're integrating into a new country, a new way of living as well.
Oh, for me, I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of players might be a bit easy, but for me, it was a big shock. It was a big change. I was only 16 at the time. I came into a new country, a completely different culture, completely different style of football, and a new language. And I found it really hard, to be fair, to kind of like settle down and just adapt to everything. It was hard, but at the same time, it's just very it was very good, for you to grow as a person and as a player, and everything.
What sort of things did Liverpool do to help you settle in? Did they offer like language lessons or anything like that to help you improve in that sort of thing?
Yeah. After almost every training session, I can't remember exactly, but maybe 3-4 times a week we had a teacher at Melwood. Just so after every training session, we will have an hour's lesson, and then you just have dinner and then go back home or something. So it was very helpful. Liverpool is an amazing club, and it was just such an amazing time in there. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the under-17 Euros in 2008 shortly. I mean, just looking at the players in that squad, you were the only one at the time that didn't play in Spain. So it was a slightly unusual path, really. The rest of your teammates had all stayed in that country, but you'd chosen to move away. Why was it that you decided that Liverpool was a better place for development?
As a young player, and all you want to do is get to the top. And at the time, Liverpool seemed like the easiest not easiest, but probably quickest, quickest way to get to the top. In Madrid, I was 16 and I was playing with the under 17s, and I was only 1 year ahead of my age. And Liverpool often going straight into the reserves, and sometimes train with the first team and everything, and you just see it so close that you just jump at the opportunity, like I went from playing with kids to be in that environment with all the first team players and the reserve players. So as I said, it seemed like the quickest way to get to the top. But it was a lot of turbulence. I arrived to Rafa, then Roy Hodgson, then Kenny Dalglish, so it was what it was. But as I said, that was my decision.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody was in that position now, they're 16 years old, to play for Real Madrid, what would you sort of tell them? What would your advice be? Obviously, you've done it before. What would you say to them now?
No, I mean, I did what I felt it was the best thing for me, If I would have stayed in Spain, never happened. I would never know what happened. And I mean, it was my choice, and you just have to. No, I think you don't have to have any regrets. But I'm saying, like, I'll tell them to just whatever they feel is best for them, And yeah, I mean, like, I could have easily stayed and be in an amazing club, or go to England and be in another amazing club. So. There is nothing really. There isn't any. How you say, like anything that is going to be bad for you, basically.
Yeah. So you wouldn't suggest that it was better to stay in Spain. You don't regret that move in any way or anything like that.
No, I mean, the thing is we come back to the same. Like I don't know what would have happened if I was staying in Spain. I know they really really look after me as well. Real Madrid. They really wanted me to stay, and at the same time, Rafa Benitez and Liverpool really wanted me to go. So I mean, it's just decisions. Sometimes they go good, sometimes they go bad, but I don't regret anything, to be fair.
You mentioned Rafa Benitez there as well. How much of an influence was he to bring you in? Did he speak to you before you made the move? Was he a big sort of reason as to why you wanted to come to Liverpool?
No, not to me personally, but obviously he was in contact with my agent all the time. Also, I had a little problem with my passport at the time because I didn't have the Spanish nationality yet. So it took a little bit longer for me to get to the UK. But yeah, all the time he was just talking to my agent and just kind of like, because I started to get a bit frustrated that nothing was happening because I just left Madrid and then I wasn't getting the move yet. And my agent always kept me like, it's going to happen. Don't worry. It's a passport thing, it's nothing else. So, I mean, he was always in touch with my agent at all times, and it was very good for me.
And you must have trained with some amazing players in Liverpool's first team training. Steven Gerrard, Fernando Torres would have been there at that time as well. I mean, who was the best player? What was it like to be in that sort of dressing room, in that sort of environment?
The same. I said before, it was a shock as well, because as I said, I went from playing with kids to training sometimes with some of these, monsters at the time, some of them in their prime, as well. And I felt that Liverpool was a very, very good Liverpool team as well, with Torres, Gerrard, Xavi Alonso, Mascherano, Ryan Babel, Josie Benayoun, I don't know, Carragher, Skirt Bagger, it was actually a really difficult, really good team, and I mean, really difficult to break into that team, because it was amazing players, world-class players everywhere, But yeah, it was just an amazing experience. You just have to. It took me time as well, to adapt, because there's the pace, the speed of the ball, everything. It was just, yeah, I was years behind. I was young. I was coming from a different place, different everything. It was hard, but it's something that that now thinking back, it's just amazing time.
I suppose that must have been a really good thing for you to learn. You must have got much better very quickly as a player, because you were playing with players of a very high standard. I suppose someone like Harvey Elliott at the moment in Liverpool's first team, or Curtis Jones or Nico Williams, someone like that, them being in and around that first team, it must really help you as an individual as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. You just have to kind of like just learn quick. It's no time to I say like to it's no time to wait. You just have to learn and learn quick, and then yeah, as I said, it was just amazing. Like.
And there's been a lot of players stepped up from the academy into the first team recently. You think of people like Alexander-Arnold and things like that. Do you think something has changed at Liverpool to make that happen, or do you think it's more something to do with maybe Jurgen Klopp just giving more young players an opportunity?
Hard question, to answer. Maybe a bit of both. Maybe as well. Just maybe. At the time, Liverpool needed a right back, and Trent Alexander was there, But obviously, he's an amazing player, But maybe he was there at the right time, A lot of things like this, sometimes you need a little bit of luck, As I said, for example, Liverpool needed a right back, and he happened to be there at the right time, in the right place. Obviously, you have to perform, and he's done it, and he's just an amazing player. But sometimes I feel like maybe this what you need. Other times, I don't know, but I do think Jurgen Klopp really trusts young players as well. I think he's not scared to play them, and and for example, what they've done last year in the when they had they had to play in, was it Abu Dhabi, the final of the
Qatar, yeah,
in Qatar, yeah, and he didn't care to play all the young players. That's just an amazing experience for them as well, So, I mean, he just seems to really, like the young players and just give them chances, But obviously, you need to deserve it as well. It's not just gonna hang a chance to anyone. But yeah, you just never know. I mean, I'm glad that Liverpool is doing so well, and I'm glad for the young lads that are coming through as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on Jurgen Klopp, I mean, it must be a dream to play for him. I'm sure, every player around the world will look at someone like him and think how amazing it must be to work for him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Everything I've heard from him is from people talking. It's just good things. I think there's been any player that actually has say anything bad about him. He always seems happy, seems such a positive person, and I think he creates such a happy environment for the players, to be around and just feel, just positive energy and happy. That's what it looks like. That's what it seems, and it's obviously he's done an incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Jurgen Klopp was one of the big reasons why Thiago Alcantara wanted to move from Bayern Munich to Liverpool this summer. You obviously won the under-17 Euros with him in 2008, as we mentioned. And I mean, how long did you play alongside him in total? Was it a few years that you were sort of coming through in Spain at the same time?
So I had a couple of training sessions with Spain, and also the European Championship. But probably the first time I played against Thiago, I must have been about 13, I think, 13, 14. He was living in Galicia at the time, which is northwest of Spain. And yeah, the first time I played, he still didn't play for Barcelona at the time. He was playing for like a club from a small town in Galicia. And yeah, that was the first time I played him. And obviously, since then, you could see, yeah, as I said, maybe we were 13, 14, and you could already see that what a great player he was. And then, yeah, I got to, first time I met, obviously, we used to play each other, Barca Madrid, but the first time we actually met, he was in the national team. And yeah, I mean, it's a long time, but I think the last time I actually was with him was when I had surgery in Barcelona. I was 18, and he was there. I think he had a problem as well. He was in the hospital, and that was the last time I actually spoke with him.
And the first time that you saw him, even though he was maybe 13 or 14 and you would have been as well, what was your impression of him? Was he somebody that stood out on a football pitch as being, a really good player even back then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You wouldn't know he will be, obviously it's very difficult to say when you see young players playing. You wouldn't know that he was going to be one of the best midfielders in the world right now. But at the time, you could see he was a very, very good player already, but yeah, he's done well.
What was it that stood out? What was it that made him different to the other midfielders?
How technical he is, probably. He's always, now I think he's playing deeper than what he used to back then. He's playing more as a deep playmaker, if you say. But at the time, he was more like attacking midfielder, I would say. And you could see him dribbling a lot more and things like that. But you could see how good he was at the ball back then, and obviously still now. But probably you could see him dribbling a little bit more than what he does.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you play in midfield as well. You know the position and what it takes to be a top-level player in that position. As I say, obviously Thiago has certain things that he is maybe better than his peers at. Is there anything specific that you would say that, maybe it's his passing or is just his intelligence or something like that? Is there something specific that makes him, better than a lot of other players?
I mean, he's just very complete. You can see him tackling. You can see him making the team play. Setting the pace of what the team plays and his awareness of the ball. And I think he's really become a really, really complete midfielder. Obviously, before younger and all that, when I play with him and all this, he was probably a bit more offensive. Now a lot more complete, and it's just it's just done so. It's just done so well, But what I remember about him as well is how good as a person he was. His personality, like he was very positive as well, very very good teammate, always supporting his teammates and all this, and that's also so important.
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of world-class midfielders from Spain over the last few years. You think of Iniesta and Xavi and players like that. How do you think he compares to those two? Obviously, they've won everything in the game. He's sort of been there as well, and at one time was considered maybe the next one of those players. Do you think he's quite reached those heights, or do you think he's still got a little bit more to prove?
I mean, he just won the Champions League, didn't he? I mean, I don't know. I think they are just different. I still think, obviously, at the time the press called him the next Xavi or the next Iniesta or whatever, but he's done. He's himself. He's Thiago. Is for me, I see him as very different to them at the same time. I understand why people compare them. I see him very different as well. And as I said, has he reached that level? I mean, thing is like they are called legends because been all their life in the same club. He's been changing, but I think he probably is at that level, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking back to when you were training with him and playing with him, was there something that stood out about him in training, or is it just pure talent? He is so good at football, or was he doing extra sessions? Was he doing extra learning and things around that as well to improve?
Not that I remember, no. He's just talented. He's a talented player. It's quality. I don't know. I don't remember seeing him doing anything different to the rest. He's just a natural, talented player. I mean, obviously his dad played for Brazil and played in La Liga, so he was probably a big influence, and a big help for him, in terms of just helping him through everything, like if your parents, for example, haven't played football or something, you might not have that help back home, that maybe has helped him. But I mean, he was just always been very good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a little bit of concern, I think, when Thiago came to Liverpool. He's obviously a 29-year-old midfielder. It's not the kind of player that Liverpool buy very often, but you're also a 29-year-old midfielder, so I'm interested to see what you think of that sort of thing. A lot of the time fans might say, oh, he's 29, he's maybe not got too long left in the game, but that's not really true, is it? He's still got a number of years ahead of him, as I'm sure you have as well.
100%. I actually think he's probably in his prime now. I think he can give the best probably three years of his life. I really believe he can give the best 3 years of his football, his life. But I think it has changed. I think things has changed. Players used to retire a little bit earlier. Now you can see players like playing at 35, 36, in a amazing level still. And or even, for example, just Thiago Silva is 36 and he's saying he wants to play the World Cup and he's going to be 38, So I think actually things have changed. Players, I think, look at themselves better, diets, resting, the technology you have to recover and all these things, I think that probably helps as well. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be too worried about it. 29 is still, I think he's still young. I'm still young. So I'm pretty sure he still feels the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Liverpool wouldn't have bought him if they didn't agree with that either. And just as a final question then, just to finish, Xherdan Shaqiri, obviously another player that Liverpool fans are very aware of. He was in that under-17s tournament as well. I think you played against him. I just wondered how much you remembered of him at the time playing for Switzerland in that tournament.
I'm not sure. Did we play them in the group stages?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. He was definitely out the tournament though. I do know that.
I'm not sure, to be fair. I don't remember much, but to be fair, that Spain team, we were very superior to every other team, so it was actually difficult for anyone else to shine because that Spanish team was very good. So, and we dominated completely every game and, scored a lot of goals, even in the final 4-0 against France, so yeah, we were too superior. I think I can't remember exactly anything about him, but obviously, he's had an amazing career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We won't keep you any longer. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate that.
No, thank you, Matt. Thank you.